Namah Shreyati Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, may I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Actually, one of the previous classes, Sattva Vajaya Chikitsa, you have explained. In that, like Sharirika dosha and Manasa dosha are there. Sattva Vajaya is with self-control, they cure themselves, is what I have understood. Is it? Am I right, sir?
Sattva is for Manasiga diseases.
Okay.
And Daiva Vyapashraya and Yukti Vyapashraya are for Sharirika. That's how it is mentioned.
Okay.
Sattvasya avajayaha, that is Sattva Vijaya. Pasamyatya aushadhai purvo Daiva Yukti Vyapashrayaihi Manaso Jnana Vijnana Dhairya Smriti Samadhi, which is the Sattva Vijaya Chikitsa action. Manasa for Manasa.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
We will start in a moment. Just wait for a few more people to join.
Namaste, sir. I got a question. Can I ask now?
Yes, please.
Yesterday, as we were teaching, you were saying about the lactose intolerance.
Yes.
Some of the people has got. Can that itself be considered as a dosha that comes by birth, or what is the reason for that? The lactose intolerance.
Yes. So according to Ayurveda, it is a problem of Agni.
Okay, so it's by birth the Agni is not good.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And the other question is regarding the bowel movement that you were explaining yesterday. Sometimes I have heard people saying it is not at all happening for 2 or 3 days. Then what kind of dosha is that in that case? Is it also Vata Pitta?
Which one? Which one? Can you repeat again?
So yesterday we were talking about very dehydrated one as Vata Pitta, right?
Yes. Yes. Because Vata is when Vata and Pitta come together, it becomes drying like fire.
Okay.
Vata Pitta combination is like fire.
Okay.
So Vata is dominating, it is dry. So the heat also becomes dry. So all Vata Pitta combinations, if you study the texts like Agni Visarpam is Vata Paitika. In all Vata Pitta conditions, you can see this kind of heating. It is like dry heat.
Okay. In case the bowel movement is not at all happening for continuous days, then what kind of dosha is that?
Yes, that may be in this range, like pure Vata to Vata Pitta.
Okay.
When the entire water is getting absorbed.
Huh.
That is that is why Ayurveda has given this doshic framework. You see,
Okay.
when we see what is happening, we have to convert that to the gunas, and then
Okay.
we can judge what kind of dosha it is.
Hmm.
So, see, around 600 ml of digested food juice gets into our intestine,
Okay.
from which about 400 ml water is reabsorbed,
Okay.
and around 150 to 200 grams of fecal matter is thrown out.
Okay.
So, this is the proportion. So, if that absorption of water is less, then what goes out becomes very liquid.
Okay. Okay.
If that absorption of water is too much, then what goes out becomes very hard.
Okay.
If it stays inside and that is excessive absorption of, in the Western countries, because of some of their food habits, the fecal matter becomes leather-like and very hard, and they
Hmm.
have to do colon cleansing actually to remove it.
Okay.
So those are all Vata Pitta kind of conditions. This is my understanding. So I've tried to, because in the Bristol stool chart stops with the loose bowels.
Okay.
What it misses is the fecolith.
Okay.
So that is definitely Vata Pitta condition.
Vata Pitta. Okay.
Fecoliths happen sometimes to people, even to animals.
Haha.
If they are not passing bowels for a long time, it becomes so hard and becomes stone-like, and then we may need to extract it out. It cannot pass on its own.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear. Got
Yeah.
it.
So lactose intolerance is also a deficiency of an enzyme from a modern point of view.
Okay.
So it's an absence of an enzyme.
Absence of that, is it?
Yeah, absence of the lactase enzyme, which is necessary to digest that sugar called lactose.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Got it.
So this is Agni Mandyam, sir.
It's all different types of Agni Mandya.
Okay.
Agni, Ayurveda calls all these things what we today call as enzymes, acids, it all comes under the concept of Agni. So there are actually two types of, I think that is what Sumitra was asking, right? What is the cause?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Cause.
It can be acquired and it can also be inherited.
Okay.
So there is congenital or developmental lactose intolerance, which is inherited.
Okay. Congenital.
Both, so this is coming from the genes, but other lactose intolerance, there are again of two types, which is acquired, not due to heredity.
Okay.
See, all human beings have lactose because we are being breast milk fed.
Mhm.
So when we wean off sugar, that is why many people say after a while lactose production comes down, because we are not fully on milk. No? We start other foods. Gradually, the lactose production will come down, but still, our body produces enough lactase so that some once in a while, moderate intake of milk is still tolerated and digested by the body.
Okay.
Sometimes after some illnesses or in old age also, you can again, this deficiency can come up.
Okay.
I have not treated, but some of my colleagues have treated lactose intolerance and reported, good recovery.
Okay.
So I think the acquired type is treatable with Ayurveda.
Okay. So the first type is congenital, that is in by hereditary or by gene. The second one, that is acquired, right?
Second one is, so two ways you can see. It could be either acquired or
Uh-huh.
it could be hereditary.
Okay.
Generally, as you increase in your age, the chance for lactose intolerance increases because uh, in childhood is the least chance of lactose intolerance because your body is more used to milk.
Okay.
Some ethnic groups also have higher, uh, tendency for this, like African, Asian, American Indian, and all.
Okay.
Another thing is premature birth babies have a tendency for lactose intolerance.
Okay.
So if the baby is born before the third trimester, then there's a chance.
Okay.
See, some other diseases of the small intestine can also, I think, I'm not so sure about it. There could be this gut microbiome imbalance may also cause it. And I think that is why Ayurvedic treatments addressing Agni may be correcting all these mechanisms. And so we are seeing clinical response.
Okay.
Sometimes, even when some treatments are given, it can lead to lactose intolerance, like chemotherapy or strong medications. After you have come out of that, you may suddenly find that you are lactose intolerant.
Okay.
And in Ayurveda, we are saying Kshira Uchitaha and Kshira Anuchitaha.
Okay.
Lactose intolerant patients are called Kshira Anuchitaha.
Okay.
Okay, so let us then now continue. Yeah, celiac disease is also there. As I told you, I have not frankly treated this condition. I can suggest you to one of my colleagues who has good experience in treating. Abhijit Sinhaji, you can contact me separately. I will connect you to him.
Yeah, it will be so kind of you, sir.
Yeah.
I'll send you a WhatsApp if you have.
Celiac
Yeah.
disease is a known risk factor for
Oh,
lactose intolerance. So we'll have to treat that also. Then only,
okay.
that.
Yeah, in fact, he's a doctor, but he says that it is not treatable. He tried various options, but it's a big issue to manage her diet. So
Yeah.
if you can guide me to somebody,
Yeah, I will guide you.
it will be okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, this intolerance to curds is also there. According to Ayurveda, curds, although it has got beneficial properties, it is very pitta aggravating, pitta kapha aggravating, so it can lead to many allergic kind of reactions. Everybody may not tolerate it. So that is more individual peculiarities. The qualities of curd, which is Guru, Ushna, it is Vatajit, so it is not so good for Pitta and Kapha. So such people sometimes can. I have seen the response to curds is different. In many people, it causes respiratory allergies, skin problems, or when people have these issues, when they are also taking curds, it aggravates. Some good practices to avoid problem from curds is to use sugar along with it or jaggery along with curds, mix it. Or amalaki you can mix, green gram can be mixed, honey can be mixed with curds to reduce its bad effects. Generally, using salt and curd is not recommended in Ayurveda, but it is widely used. Okay, so let us now get back to our discussion. So, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Yes. Oh, just a second. Something happened. I will open it again. अथापरे त्रयो वृक्षा पृथग्ये फलमूलिभिः स्नुह्यर्काश्मन्तगास्तेषाम् इदं कर्म पृथक् पृथक् वमने अश्मन्तकं विद्यात् स्नुहि क्षीरं विरेचने क्षीरमर्कस्य विज्ञेयं वमने स विरेचने. So there are three trees that are mentioned for their various medicinal properties: Snuhi, Arka, and Ashmantaka. So Snuhi is a plant called Euphorbia nerifolia. It creates Euphorbia nerifolia, Euphorbia anticorum. Some of these species are used. So I will just show you some pictures of that. If you see, this is various types of Euphorbia. And if you prick the stem, milky latex will come. It has got a little burning effect. Then we have Arca is Calotropis. Have you heard of Calotropis? Arca. Okay, I will also show that. This plant is the fruits, the flowers are used to worship both Ganesha and Hanuman. Can you see Calotropis?
Yes, sir, we can see.
So have you seen it before? It's very common, widely growing various, almost all parts of the country. Anybody who has not seen this?
Usually we take this as a harmful.
What is it?
Nobody. If this we call it in Andhra as Jilludu, it's very harmful for like that. Nobody will touch that one.
Yeah, yeah. No, the milky latex of this is caustic. It can cause burning. It is used to treat the corns of the feet. If you apply that milky latex on the feet corn,
Okay.
it is very helpful. So the flowers are used for religious purposes. Then we have another plant called Ashmantaka, which is Ficus rhamphai. Some of these plants' identity is not very clear. It's a very sad thing that a lot of knowledge about our medicinal plants have been lost. So this is Ficus rhamphai. All these ficus are also latex-bearing plants, so you can get latex from them. And these three plants, Snuhi is still used, but not in the way Caraka-Saṁhitā has described it. So we can see over thousands of years, a lot of changes happened in practice. A lot of identity of plants have been lost. Okay, Arka is Jilledu in Telugu, yes. For Shiva Puja also, it is Ganesha. For Hanuman, different people use it for different.
Yeah, Arka Ganesha like that.
Yes.
That is also there.
Yes. Now, Arka means it represents the sun. Astrologically, this plant is Surya. It represents Surya.
Yes.
That's why it is called Arka. Yeah, somebody's microphone seems to be on. Okay, thank you. It's close now. So out of these, Ashmantaka is used for Vamana. So you can see Shodhanam, Shamanam Chedi, Samasad, Aushadham Dvitha. The treatment or in Ayurveda is of two types, Shamana and Shodhana. And that is why the medicines which are useful for both Shamana and Shodhana are described here. So these trees are useful for Shodhana. Shodhana is just like surgery is a major treatment in modern medicine. Ayurveda also has surgery, but now in modern medicine it has developed, to a very great extent. Okay, I had not switched on my video. Sorry. Shodhana therapy is very, very important in Ayurveda. It's a very radical treatment approach. So when we are treating patients, we try to see how to cleanse the system. So most of these herbs that are useful for cleansing are considered very important. Swamane ashmantagam vidyad, snuhi kshiram virechane, kshiram arkasya vitnyayam vamane sa virechane. So we have to take this with a pinch of salt. These without proper guidance from a clinician, these plants are harmful to use. Please don't collect the milk of arka, which is quite easily available, and drink it. It can damage your mucous membrane, epithelium, everything. You will get into an ER, emergency room, very quickly. There are much, much more safer emetics and purgatives. These are all used in certain circumstances. And for this reason, it's not so widely used now for these purposes. They have to be used under very skilled supervision and in certain conditions. But these were the medicines that were highly valued in those times for cleansing procedures. And as was mentioned here, those who know these herbs are said to be real experts in the field. So this can be handled only by experts.
All three are used for Vamana, sir, usually?
No, Vamane Ashmantagam Vidyad. For Vamana, Ashmantagam. Snuhi Kshiram Virechane. Snuhi Kshira is for Virechana. And Arka is for both. Kshiram Arkasya Vitnyayam Vamane Sa Virechane. One for Vamana, one for Virechana, and one for both Vamana and Virechana. So in my opinion, we have to replace all these plants with what is more well known today. And which are more safe. Because Charaka will tell later, Aushadham hi anabhijñātam nāma-rūpa gunaistribhi vijñādam chapi duryuktam anarthāyopapadyate. If you do not know a plant properly, better not use it. So many plants in our Ayurvedic texts, we have lost their knowledge. So they should not be used by some guesswork. Okay, this may be this. No, that is, we should be 100% sure about the identity of a plant. So now as we move forward, you can find the next set of plants are a little controversial. Iman strin aparan vrkshan ahur yesham hitas tvachaha. So here are again another 3 trees whose barks are actually very good. Putika krishnagandha cha tilvagascha tatha taruhu. So these are mainly used in Virechana. So all of them are slightly controversial. So see, Krishna Gandha is considered to be shigru, a type of shigru, that is, moringa, drumstick plant. And its bark is very strong, and if you You have tried, I have experienced it, cutting the bark of shigru and then handling it. You can feel a piercing smell getting into your nose. The smell is quite strong that it can even open a blocked nose. That is why probably it is called Krishna Gandha. But I am not quite sure that this is Krishna Gandha. Tilvaka also is a plant whose identity has been lost, and I would think twice before using any of the plants recommended today. So this set of 3 plants, unfortunately, is an example of how much knowledge we have lost, in the flow of time, especially when it comes to identity of medicinal plants. So Putika is a little bit known. Puti Karanja, there is a plant called Puti Karanja. This is Holoptilia integrifolia or Chirabilluha. This is a very good plant for cleansing. It is very useful in conditions like hemorrhoids. There is a decoction called Chiravilluadi Kashayam, which is very good for controlling piles or hemorrhoids. Krishna Gandha, and then Tilvaka. Tilvaka, God's identity got merged with a plant called Lodhra. I will write down the names because. So Putika is Chiravilva, or in English it's Holoptilia integrifolia. Krishna Gandha may be a type of moringa, not our vegetable moringa. There are different types. Krishna Gandha and Tilvaka. According to some people, it's a plant called Viburnum speciosum. But the problem, what has happened is Tilvaka and Lodhra became synonymous at some point of time. Lodhra is very well known. It is Symplochus racemosus. It is used for eye diseases. It's a very good uterine tonic. This is one of the mystery in Ayurvedic Dravya Guna, how the synonymous names of Tilvaka and Lodhra became one, because they have opposite action. Lodhra is astringent, whereas Tilvaka is purgative. So how could Lodhra replace Tilvaka? Maybe in some situation one was used as a substitute for other. And then that wrong, it is very, very easy for a wrong in a tradition to go wrong. You must have heard of the stories of the cat being tied before a puja. Have you heard? Yes. So in that way, so many useless, meaningless things can sometimes get transmitted. This is the burden of tradition. Somebody makes a mistake, then everybody will start following it. Right? This happens in our life also. Some gossip happens and then everybody believes it. And then, that keeps spreading. This is the problem of this is human nature. So Tilvaka and Lodhra happened like that. So the fact is that Tilvaka cannot be Lodhra. So it has to be some other plant. And a great botanist, K.C. Chunekar and Balwant Singh Thakur, they have written a book called A Glossary of Vegetable Drugs in Brihatrayi. So in that he has suggested, because Thilena, there is a local name, Thilena, which is very similar to Tilvaka, which is having similar purgative properties. So they did very extensive research work, field work, and they came to the conclusion that Viburnum speciosum may be the original Tilvaka of the text. But see, we cannot go on the basis of conjectures. We don't know really. And it would be very dangerous to use a plant which we do not know completely. So I recommend, this is written many decades ago, but still it's a very stimulating book where the authors are discussing the identity of various plants, mentioned in the classical textbooks of Ayurveda. What is their true identity? So that's another exercise altogether. I don't think we can arrive at a conclusion as to what exactly all these plants are. But the thing is, these were amazing herbs, the barks of which they were using in those times for the purpose of Shodhana. Putika Krishna Gandha cha Tilvagascha Tatha Taruhu Virejane Prayoktavya Putigas Tilvagas Tada Krishna Gandha Parisarpe Shodheshu Arshassu Chochede Dadru Vidradi Gandeshu Kushteshu Apyalajishu cha Shadvrikshan Shodhana Nedan Api Vidyad Vichakshanaha Ityukta Phalamulinya Snehascha Lamanani cha Mutram Kshirani Vrikshascha Shadye Dishtapayastvachaha. So here he says these are useful for Shodheshu, Parisarpe, in eruptive skin disorders. See, in Ayurveda, the skin and the gut is connected. Everything is connected to the gut. There is a skin-gut axis. There is a gut-brain axis, gut-skin axis, gut-lung axis, gut-heart axis. Every part of your body is connected to your gut. So when you correct the gut, these diseases resolve. In all skin diseases, we cleanse the gut. So that, because what Ayurveda says is, what the body cannot excrete, is unable to excrete through your alimentary tract, it is trying to excrete through the skin. So if you just suppress, if you put some steroids on the skin or suppress it, it is very temporary. As you can see with most modern treatments, after some time it will come back again. So you have to work on the gut. This is the gut-skin axis. Gut-brain axis is like Parkinson. In Parkinson, we have to cleanse and clear the gut. Then the changes begin to happen in the brain. Then a lot of skin disease. Arshas is, of course, I mentioned, especially Putika is very useful in the management of Arshas. Dadru Vidrathi Gandeshu Kushteshu Apyalajishu cha. These are all various skin manifestations. So what is mentioned here, Shodhana Nityatra Yadyapi Krishna Gandhaya Panchakarmanya Anabhidhananna Shodhanatvam Tathavi Bahyalepanena Bahistita Doshan Dosha Samshodhanatvam Bodhavyam Kim Vapi Shabdat Krishna Gandhaya Ashodhanatvam Api Suchyate. So here Krishna Gandha, out of these Virejane Prayoktavya Putigas Tilvagas Tatha, Krishna Gandha Parisarpe, which means Krishna Gandha's Prayoga here is more external. So there is, cleansing is both internal and external. In Ayurvedic, treatments are divided into Antaparimarjanam and Bahiparimarjanam. So Krishna Gandha here, the commentator is pointing out that Krishna Gandha is more Bahiparimarjanam. It is cleansing the Bahistita dosha samshodhanatvam bodhavyam. Bahyalapanena Bahistita dosha samshodhanatvam. But again, Shadvrikshan Shodhanan etan apividyad vichakshanaha. So again, some grammatical games are being played here. The commentator is telling Shadvrikshan Shodhana Netan. So even though Krishna Gandha is not indicated for internal use for Shodhana in Panchakarma, still it has been classified as Shodhana Vriksha. Why is the question. So the answer is that it is classified as Shodhana because one of the reasons could be that because even though it is not used for internal Shodhana, it is used externally for Shodhana. Another reason is that Api Vidyad Vichakshana, that word Api Shabdat, Krishna Gandhaya Ashodhanatvam Api Shuchyate. So because that word Api is used there, it indicates that Krishna Gandha is not strictly Shodhana but still included in this group. So this is a grammar, Sanskrit, language use, a subtle use of language. But I am inclined to take the more straightforward understanding that all six are Shodhana. Krishna Gandha is external Shodhana. So, because it is very affirmative. Shadvrikshan Shodhanan etan. Api Vidyad Vichakshana means they should also understand this because so many others have been mentioned. Shadvrikshan Api. So, I don't think that Api here is indicating a Shodhanatva. So, in this way, Ityuktaha Phalamulinyah Snehascha Lavananicha. Mutram Kshirani Vrikshascha Shadye Dishtapayastvachaha. See the commentator here, you can see Pudika he identifies with Kantaki Karanjaha, which is a different type of Karanja, not Pudi Karanja. But the word Put, so there are differences of opinion regarding the identity. And Tilvako Lodra, I'm very surprised that even great commentators like Chakrapani when doshas bahistida means when they are in the shakha marga, and in tvak, when they are located in the skin, the doshas are said to be bahistida. When they are inside the dhatus, deep seated, they are called as antasthita. And the concept here is that first we have to work on the antasthita dosha, then bahistita dosha after that. It works better that way. You have to clean inside first. Iti doshe vijitentaha. After dosha jaya of the internal dosha jaya has happened, then external treatments will help. So that's why in all skin diseases in Ayurveda, we try to cleanse the body internally first and then only treat the external lesions. Because once the root is gone, the tree also withers. As long as the root is there, how much ever you cut the branches, the tree will sprout again. That is a concept. So you can see Tilvako Lodraha. So he is again saying Tasya Taruridi Visheshena Pattika Lodram Vyudasyati. Shabara Lodram. So he classifies Lodra into two types and distinguishes between Pattika Lodra and Shabara Lodra.
So what is Lodra, sir?
Lodra is Simplacos racemosa. I already typed it. Simplacos racemosa. It is a plant which is used especially in the disorders of the female reproductive system. It's very good for stopping uterine bleeding. There is a whole gana called Lodhradi gana. So it is astringent, it is hemostatic. It stops the movement of fluids in the body. So actually if you take it, it will promote constipation. Whereas here Tilvaka is said to be Virechaka. That is why Tilvaka cannot be Lodra. And as I already mentioned, see, this is all very specialized knowledge which are of interest to a practicing Vaidya only. Because in Ayurveda, we have two types of knowledge, and I find this group is also mixed. There maybe we have physicians, two people who are philosophers, saints. So it's a very wide group. So the utility of this knowledge is different for different people. Ayurveda gives knowledge in all ways. It gives professional knowledge, and it also gives the general knowledge that everybody needs to maintain their health. Now, this is where what we are discussing here is very specialized knowledge to be studied in detail by a clinician. So those who are not clinicians need not worry so much about it. The takeaway message is don't do any, self-medications, reading any of these portions. So I want to highlight, see, it is not that everything has been preserved in tradition. There are knowledge gaps. The identity of plants is one area where a big knowledge gap has happened. See, it was all transmitted through tradition. And as traditional herb, I spent time with a lot of herb collectors, moving around with them in the forests where they were collecting plants, and how they identified. They had their own science, how they will identify a plant. They did not know the botanical classification, but they looked at the leaves, the texture, they will break a leaf, smell it. In many, many ways, they were able to identify what was the real species. And this knowledge did not get documented. I know that, see, today we have Tinospora cordifolia, Tinospora crispa, Tinospora malabarica, Tinospora sinensis, so many types of Tinospora. I first came to know that these species have to be differentiated from a ordinary herb collector. So in Malayalam, in Kerala, we call Tinospora cordifolia as Chittamrita. Chittamrita is a smaller variety of Amrita, and they know by looking at the texture of the stem and the size of the leaf whether it is pubescent, not pubescent, glabrous. They are able to distinguish the species. So there is Chittamrita, Pottamrita, Kattamrita, Kaipamrita, 4 types. Chittamrita is Tinospora cordifolia. Pottamrita is Tinospora malabarica. Kaipamrita is Tinospora crispa. Kattamrita is Tinospora sinensis. So how did they distinguish all this without the modern botanical classification? So this is field identification. So those kind of specialized knowledge is there. We don't have to worry about that. So this is the description. So the knowing the plants that you are using is extremely, extremely important. And that is what we are going to discuss now. How do we identify all these plants? Now Charaka introduced us to the mutras, the chiras, the lavanas, the mulinya, phalinya, the twaks, the shira vrikshas, the twaks, the barks, everything has been explained. And we have been given the idea that what all we need. So we have whatever we need to make our medicines are available around us. Yasya deshasya yo jantu tajjam tasya ushadham hitam. This is a very important principle in Ayurveda. For a person living in a particular region, yasya deshasya yo jantu, or yasmin deshe tu yo jadaha, where you are born, tasyam tajjam tasya ushadham hidam. The medicines growing there are the most suited for them. So this is a local, Ayurveda is global vision, local application. We can call this as global localization, not globalization. Globalization means making everybody eat from McDonald's in every city. Everybody eats the same way, everybody dresses the same way, every city looks the same. This is globalization. But Ayurveda says the diversity of the world has to be preserved. Everything has to be local. Regional traditions, local foods, ethnic cuisine. This is something which we are losing today. I was just reading about Kerala. There is a big red alert for Kerala because of metabolic problems. Kerala is a state of contradiction because if you look at maternity, maternal mortality, and many other health indicators, Kerala matches life expectancy. Kerala matches the most developed nations in the world. With less money, Kerala has achieved more. But on the flip side, Kerala is showing up in red in the metabolic health report of India. With high rates of diabetes, 24.7% of the population has diabetes. 16.1% has, 18% has pre-diabetes. 44% has hypertension. Because natural foods are gone. Local foods are gone. Hypercholesterolemia, 51.7% of the population. 50% has more cholesterol. Low HDL cholesterol, the good cholesterol, 73%. Nearly 50% of the population has generalized obesity, overweight, whereas 62% has just abdominal obesity. They are otherwise looking thin, but in the central part is very bulging. Physical inactivity levels is very high. 72.4% of people are physically inactive. So this is what has happened because we have globalization. Globalization is useful only for, the multinational companies, not for people. They can make money, they can create more ill health and create all these markets and businesses around the suffering of other people. So Ayurveda tells that we have to have a localized approach. That is what this principle says. Deshe deshe yojana dvadashande bhinnanyahur dravya namani loke. So deshe deshe yojana dvadashande, which means at every yojana dvadasha, there will be a change in the names of people. There will be a change in the, varna bhasha cheshtayaha bhinna rupa vibhanti. Kinchameshu praninam varna bhasha cheshta chaya bhinna rupa vibhanti. Their varna, bhasha, cheshta, chaya, everything is changing. Every yojana dvadasha. So maybe around approximately 100 to 200 kilometers, our lifestyle and practices have to keep changing. You can see how India is such a land of diversity. How we developed this diversity based on a localized regional approach, which is getting lost today. So when we move from one state to the other, it's almost like moving from one country to the other. This is true in all places where there are older traditions. Europe was also like that, but now everything is getting normalized. So this is a very, very important concept that we have to understand what are the plants that are growing around it. In a place called Ladakh, This is something which I learned from an ethnopharmacologist when I was a student of Ayurveda. He was telling me, see, look at Ladakh. They have a animal called yak. Have you heard of yak? No?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yak is an animal, a large domesticated wild ox. And it is used in these regions. In Tibet, it is used for its meat. And this animal's milk, it has a lot of fat in it. But regions like Ladakh are very cold. So this fat actually helps the people to fight the cold. But then there is the risk. But then there is the risk of developing cholesterol. Now in these regions, they grow a lot of soya. You know, soya has a high lecithin content. High lecithin content. Lecithin is known to, so here is it, I will just show you the animal for those of you who have not seen it. Yak, can you see? This is the animal which grows in Tibet and Ladakh and such regions. It produces a lot of fat. Now the people here use a lot of, soya in their diet, which is very good. Lecithin thins the fat, excess fat in the system. Another thing peculiar to this region is that their water is very hard, so there is a big chance that stones will form in the body. So nature here provides a lot of amaranthus species, which has the ability to prevent stone formation and break the stones. So you can see how nature balances whatever is. And being in very high altitude region, when people go out up into in Kerala, okay, PVS Kumar, my observation is too much of fried foods. We fry and roast a lot of things. Nowadays, if you go out in the evening for tea, what you get is the vadas. There is a very famous, snack in Kerala called Padampuri, which is a very healthy plantain, which they soak in maida paste and then they deep fry it. If they were taking that fruit, Kerala plantain chips, I think most people are knowing that. It's also a fried food. So a lot of deep fried oil foods we are taking. Apart from that, Arabian food has also become very famous in the evening. Chinese fried foods. Evenings, everybody is eating these kind of heavy, oily, fried, roasted food, which seems to be driving this high cholesterol. And then alcohol also, consumption is also fairly high. Alcohol is promoted by the government for revenue. And so, people have access. So all these are problems. And then another thing which you can see in the Ladakh region is that there is a plant called ephedra. So people there use ephedra tree. Ephedra is well known because of the chemical called ephedrine, which even today we use as a bronchodilator. It is found in some medicines bronchodilators. But that chemical, if you isolate the chemical, it is not so useful. When you use it as tea, it can dilate your lungs and make your breathing easier. Especially if you are having problems with your heart or lungs, we should be very careful when going to high altitude regions. People can get heart attacks and problems there. So these people drink ephedra tea. So this ethnopharmacologist is a very famous ethnopharmacologist. He was telling me how he learned through his trips to various regions that nature provides for us whatever is needed around us, but we have to open our eyes and see. Instead, we are looking at the other side and always wanting to import things which we do not have, and then lose that dependence and connection with our locality and environment. This is the sadness. Ayurveda always advocated seasonal foods, local foods. You should never get disconnected from the land in which you are living. Today, it is all becoming made artificial. So how do we learn about these herbs? That is what the next verses are telling. Oshadhir nama rupabhyam janate hyajapavane. See, people who are always on the move in the forest, they know the medicinal plants by name and form. And I had some experience moving around with herb collectors of Kerala. Yeah, so soya, ephedra, amaranthus for stones. Some of the things which these, the ethnopharmacologist whom I met explained this to me. It's about nearly 25 years ago, I came to know about this. But there are so many such things that you can see in different places. So when you go to each place, what we must look at, what is special here? We should never miss that. It will give us a lot of understanding of the culture, give us tips on the health of the people, what we must accept from them and what we must not. So every region is a lesson to learn of how to balance with nature. If we look at the traditions, sometimes we can learn things which we can also adapt, but we don't need to mimic another, because there's a reason. Why in Andhra region, generally in the south, chilies and pepper is used more compared to the north. See, it is because of the heat here. One is because of the heat. Because of the excess heat, we need to induce sweating in the body so that the body will cool down. So taking these, especially in Andhra, there is dry heat in many places. And when you use these, chilies and these kind of substances, then you will sweat. You can see when you have a meal, after that you will start sweating. And so your body will cool down. So that is the reason why it is used. And also for stimulating digestion, because in hot weather, your digestive capacity is a little lower. Not so in cold weather. But in North India, you can see both practices. I have seen people starting their meal in the morning with jalebis, and first time when I went to Gujarat, it was very difficult. But in the same place, they eat chilies also directly. We don't do that here. Just eating, because they have both hot weather and cold weather also. But now all these sensibilities are getting lost because we are thinking of only proteins, carbohydrates and fats and vitamins and minerals. It doesn't matter, about the local plants or herbs or foods. Just calculate the calories and nutrients and then eat it. This is the new culture that is emerging, and Ayurveda gives us a warning against this. Parthenium, 4 o'clock plant is good to overpower Parthenium. And it will make us place look more beautiful also. The 4 o'clock plant. I will show you. This is the 4 o'clock plant. So when I was in Bangalore many years ago, it's very beautiful. It will bloom towards the evening and then it will just, wither away. So 4 o'clock plants, we were trying at that time to cultivate it. This can also grow like a weed and it can overpower the Parthenium. That's one way to do it. It's a losing battle. I know a lot of people have respiratory skin allergies. I have treated patients with Parthenium allergies many times, and some of them have suffered for life, like itching that doesn't go away, or respiratory allergies that are not, resolving. Even in Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore, we had Parthenium problem. Bangalore has had Parthenium problem at that time, and yes. So I think we have come to the end of our discussion today. We'll meet and continue our discussion tomorrow. And I wish everybody a very happy International Yoga Day, which is a celebration of a big contribution from our culture. Namaste. We will meet again tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Namaste.
Namaste.
स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। रामकृष्णाय ते नमः।